Hi, this is PubShorts. My name is Dr. KK and I have with me Tony. Hi, Tony. How are you doing?
Very well, KK. Hope you're well yourself.
Well, I am recovering from a bout of food poisoning, but that's
Oh,
not that's not the topic of conversation. So this is
no,
PubShorts episode 5. Come together for peer review. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Dr. KK or Krishna Kumar Venkatachalam. I'm innovation officer at Enago and Trinka, and I'll explain what PubShorts is. It's a weekly episodic live streaming show. We talk about things, news and developments in the field of academic publishing and language technology. And soon we'll also be available on all major podcasting platforms. And with that, I'll ask Tony, can you introduce yourself and Inago and Trinka?
Happy to. I'm Tony O'Rourke. I'm Vice President for Partnerships here at Enago. Enago is a language services business. We provide editing, translation services, you name it. And Trinka is an AI universe of editing services. So it's there to help content creation.
Yes. And Tony, we are talking about peer review today. Why are we talking about peer review?
Well, this week is peer review week. I think it's the 10th peer review week now it started in 2015. And this is I believe it's the 10th year that we've had peer review week. And it's a very, very, very busy week as well.
Right. So thanks for the segue. So I'll start sharing screen. So I'll ask you about peer review week. So this is the official website or blog for the peer review week. So Tony, for somebody who is not familiar with peer review week, what is peer review week and why should they care?
Well, so peer review week started back in 2015 as a means of bringing the community together. And when I say the community, I mean publishers, researchers, reviewers, funders, to understand the challenges in peer review and to share experiences in peer review. Right. So peer review week 2024 is, I've got to say, it's normally a good week, but this is busier than any I've seen. It's a lot of events taking place this week.
Yeah, and I think that is because of the theme, which is innovation and technology in peer review, and everybody has something to say about innovation and technology, AI, right? So to set the context,
not just, but it's a very large,
right,
just AI.
But if we'll go through the calendar and the events in a couple of seconds, but this is the most of the focus, at least as far as I can see, is regarding the involvement of AI in the context of peer review. And the good and the bad, people are talking about it, people are writing about it, and so there are blog posts, there are videos, there are podcasts, infographics, and things like this sort of a streaming content. Yeah. So this is by popular vote, and this won over ethical integrity in peer review. I think it was the last year's theme or similar to that, if I'm not mistaken. So there, as you mentioned, there are a lot of activities. So I'm going to go to the events page of the peer review week. So you can find this at peerreviewweek.wordpress.com. And this is the events and activities of 2024. And honestly, it is a big list. And Tony, I want to ask you, do you have anything that jumps out at you, something that you want to attend? Or
I'd love to attend as many of the technology related events as I can.
Right.
And anything looking at how peer review is changing. And some of the tools that are coming. You highlight one there, for example, the ELIZA tool.
Right.
Which is a new AI tool that's been developed. There's so many different events that are taking place. I'm going to try and attend as many of the technology-related ones as I can.
Right, and unfortunately, Tony, I don't know if you've noticed it. The sequence or the listing of the results or the events is not in a chronological order, so it is quite difficult to sort of manage it. So, Tony, you mentioned
but the nice thing about it is most of these events are recorded anyway, so we can always go back and view them afterwards if we register.
Right. So I wanted to attend the ELIZA event and I had subscribed to it. There are, I think, two separate events. One, I guess, in the mid-afternoon India time today and something later on in the evening. But I was not able to get into it. It was on Microsoft Teams. But anyway, so there are other things like navigating challenges in peer review. And I attended a couple of ones yesterday, one by MDPI, or rather it was an event sponsored by them. And we have a story that we'll talk about in a minute. And it was about the changing sort of landscape in terms of AI, and very interesting thoughts. I mean, have you heard or have you read something interesting in the last week or so regarding peer review in the context of peer review week?
In the context of peer review week, not specifically, but I have read some very interesting pieces around the future of peer review. There was a very interesting piece on the Scholarly Kitchen a few days around how the landscape for the use of AI in peer review is changing very quickly, and it's all about trust.
Right.
ChatGPT 4 may not be able to deal with it at the moment, but who's to say that what ChatGPT 5 will be able to do? So it's a very, very interesting space.
Yeah. So this is the event that I attended yesterday. It was very interesting, and I have some notes. I'll see if I can share some of my thoughts. And we also have, Enago also has some events that we are planning, and I think it's listed somewhere, but I'll directly go to our website itself. So this is enago.com, and these are our peer review activities. I'm switching to reader mode. And so these are some of the events that we are planning. So there was a podcast that got published on Monday, Tech and Trust in Peer Review. And then there is an article, I think, about the peer review journey, or an infographic. And I'm taking part in this this webinar, revolutionizing, this one, the leading innovative technologies in peer review, a panel discussion. This is not quite, it's been repositioned to tomorrow, today is September 25th. And I would be joined by somebody from the Trinka product management team and Trinka product team, Piyush Agarwal. We'll be talking about our sort of steps in terms of getting AI in the field of peer review, structured peer review. And we'll be talking about the positives and the negatives. Are you interested in listening into that conversation?
Of course. I mean, something you maybe some of your listeners don't realize is that we have a product called Enago Read Peer Review Assistant, which actually won an award for innovation at a recent conference. So we know we're very heavily involved in this space. It's something we're going to be doing more and more of.
Excellent. So I'm looking forward to the event tomorrow. It is around this time, I think 5:30 p.m. India Standard Time, which is right now around the time that we are streaming this out. And we have things all the way up until the 27th of September. So people who are interested can check out our events and articles, etc. And let us know what you think of them. And so, Tony, I'm aware that you are planning to go on a trip to meet somebody special. So I'm going to jump to the next topic. It is regarding suspicious phrases in peer reviews that point to referees gaming the system. Now, this is an interesting thing. So I'm going to first read out some of my thoughts, and this is again the reader view if somebody is confused about. So the author identified 263 suspicious peer reviews across 37 journals between 2021 and 2024. And it basically is a repetition of vague phrases such as discuss the novelty and clear application of work. And this likely points to the fact that reviewers are trying to submit quick, low effort reviews to gain professional credits for peer reviewing it. So this is, are you aware of the fact that like MDPI, for example, incentivizes peer reviewers submitting more reviews so that they can get some credit out of it? Are you aware of it?
I'm not particularly aware of that, no. But I mean, to be fair to all publishers, publishers will often provide templates for reviewers to work to. And, sometimes those templates naturally allow for kind of stock phrases maybe to be used to describe certain sections of the text.
Right.
Where where the uniqueness of the reviewer really kicks in is in terms of what they can do to identify the kind of the novelty, the value, the real value of the paper. But so there is a bit of gamification going on. There is a little bit of playing around going on. It's a difficult thing to control in this ecosystem because you've got so many papers being submitted now to journals. They're looking at 5 million papers to be published in this year. Right. 5 million papers. That would probably equate to something like 10 million submissions. I don't know. It's a lot of reviewers are being asked to review and are not able to do so. So the alternatives have to be found.
Right. And so as I mentioned, MDPI offers reviewers a credit toward future publishing fees. So that is an incentive. That is something that we have to be keeping in mind while we discuss this. So
and there are other incentive schemes as well. I mean, the publishers will do their own things. They could be other programs that will incentivize and reward the reviewer for the time that they've spent.
Right. So one of the reviewers who was responsible for 56 reviews defended their work, stating that MDPI requested a structured format to improve clarity. So this is what, Tony, you were mentioning about the
absolutely right. I mean, it's a structured approach. I mean, and unfortunately, the system failed. That particular piece of research, I don't think quite fully appreciated that. There was a standard approach that was being asked for by the reviewer.
Right. And so MDPI has already stated that it has implemented software tools to detect template-based reviews and self-citations, rejecting more than 30,000 reviews in 2023. So in general, we are still sort of talking about the systemic pressures, including the need for researchers to publish more articles. So we talked about publish or perish, right? A couple of episodes ago. And also the shortage of quality reviewers. You mentioned 5 million articles to be published. So we need that many reviewers. Most often we have 2 or 3 reviewers per article, and there is a lot more review rejections as well. So there are a lot of problems to be solved, and I guess technology has to play its role in solving some of these.
Technology will play a role, absolutely, in terms of making it easier for the reviewer to make the right decision about whether they should review a paper or not.
Right. So talking about technology, Scholarly Kitchen, which is a great source for somebody who's learning how the world of academic publishing works, has a lot of articles published on the theme of peer review week. So I have 2 articles that we will discuss in this. Tony, I'm also submitted an article. I've also submitted an article, and it's under review right now. Hopefully it'll come out next week. But let's talk about this article, which is Ask the Chef's version of Peer Review Week 2024. A lot of people have weighed in. Have you read this article, Tony?
Yeah. I have indeed, yeah.
And do you have any preliminary thoughts on this?
There's nothing in those particular thoughts of those chefs that to contradict my own feelings. All of the chefs see a role for technology, but it has to be human led.
Right.
There is the process, but as I think I mentioned in the previous session, I think in 2024 we're kind of in a holding pattern. We're really going to see the value of AI in peer review, and as being expressed by these chefs here, coming into force over the next couple of years.
So, in terms of people who I sort of look or rather to refer to in terms of techno forward or AI forward stances. So one is Avi Steinman, who proposes a hybrid model, which I thought was very interesting. Avi proposes that the initial desk review, which can be automated, I think he's not actually mentioning it here, which can be semi-automated by screening, etc. And
no. The human desk review is a very specific stage. That's kind of a screening process that takes place before the review process, and that's how that human desk review might use technology.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Semi-automated. He's not mentioning it here. And then he suggests an automated AI review, which does not seem to involve humans. And he has a reasoning why he's doing it. And then that reviewed let's say paper is sent back to the author who will revise it, and then the reviewers read through the revised research to make determination regarding novelty, etc.
Yeah.
So now his reasoning is that researchers generally know when to disregard bad suggestions the same way they do with human reviews. Now I thought this was quite interesting, and this is another sort of a new way to look at it. Your thoughts, Tony?
Oh, listen, I think this is what Avi and other chefs here have indicated is kind of the way peer review is going to go in terms of technology being used to do some of the more routine, not mundane, but kind of complex data checking analysis in order for the reviewer just to really focus on the interesting outcomes. You highlighted Mr. Fanula here. And he gives a really good example. If you scroll down a little bit, he gives a really good example of kind of something that's been proposed by one of the Nature journals about the whole role of AI in peer review. And I think he's absolutely right. There's absolutely a case for technology to be used to be able to do that. Can we replicate the data? Can the data be replicated in the experiment? Is the data accessible?
Right.
These are things that AI can do. Those tools can do pretty easily, but allow the reviewer to make that critical. Is this paper novel? Is it moving the science forward? Does this represent something groundbreaking or unique that would then reflect well in the journal?
Right. So Hasib generally has a techno forward stance. He advocates in this piece as well. He advocates for 100% AI-based review in the future with human reviewers focusing on tasks that AI cannot perform, which makes a lot of sense. And I'm just quickly listing Hong Zhu suggests that AI can be used for integrity checks. Karen Wolf suggests that advocates for innovations that foster human interaction. That's a very important aspect. I thought that human interaction has to be center stage even in the context of AI assisted review. Tim Vines campaigns for stricter editorial criteria and innovations that focus on quality rather than quantity. Another thing that Tony, you addressed, that there are so many submissions coming in. We have to do something about that as well, apart from doing all the other things. And quickly, Lisa Hinchcliffe suggests a peer review technology standardization project. Notes that standardization will reduce confusion and stress among authors and reviewers. So these are some of the highlights. And I thought this was a very good place for somebody who's interested in knowing where we are with AI, innovation, technology, and peer review.
The Scholarly Kitchen generally is always a good source of very useful and practical information. And I would, if you're not subscribing to the Scholarly Kitchen already, I would urge you to subscribe. Right. It's free.
Yes, and we can go to the next article, which is again from Scholarly Kitchen. These are some thoughts on the promise and pitfalls of innovation and technology in peer review. So, Tony, I presume that you've already sort of gone through it, and I'll just quickly. So this is written by Alice Meadows, Jasmine Wallace, and Karen Wolf. Again, some people we've already sort of quoted, and this is about the benefits and challenges of integrating technology and innovation in the peer review process. And they advocate for change management, human relationships, and leadership as essential to integration of these tools. And even in my articles, I'm let's say campaigning for the fact that AI education and AI literacy in the field of academia is important for technology like AI to be integrated. And they also talk about partnerships such as the one, I think we'll talk about this in detail in the next episode, the partnerships between CreaDoc and DataSeer, focusing on data sharing and research integrity, and technical skills like markup languages, Excel, Microsoft Excel, and dataset modeling are essential for assessing peer review tools. And peer review roles such as managers and ethics specialists are going to be very important. And the last but concerning point, I think you have brought it up previously, that AI's results, or the results of AI innovation in the STEM fields may not translate well into humanities, where language precision and researcher employment are critical issues. So, Tony, with that, I'll ask you for your thoughts on this article.
No, I think I may have jumped the gun when I talked about that role. It was this article which talked about the kind of the role, the way that AI can help the reviewer in terms of allowing them to not have to deal with the kind of the mundane, the standard routine technical checks, but really to focus on the paper itself. If a good AI tool can come up with 20 questions that the reviewer can just validate and check and allow them to say, okay, well, I've made these checks. Can I now move forward and make a decision as to whether this paper is worthy of being published in this particular journal and is reflecting the state of the art, the science as we know it?
Right. So apart from all of this, I mean, I've been reading a lot and listening to other webinars and conversations like this. One interesting thing that was brought up in a conversation is that people are expecting publishers to adopt big publishers to adopt like a large language model and let reviewers and researchers play with it and be comfortable, so that instead of forcing it on them. So, Tony, your thoughts on such a potential integration?
Yeah, I think we talked about this in the previous episode. My main concern, and I'm sure there's a concern that I know is being expressed by publishers, is about rights and permissions. And if we're building large language models, what are we building it with? Are we seeking the right kind of permissions from publishers in order to use that content? Of course, if it's content that's not been submitted to a publisher, then we have to seek permission from the author. This is why we have all these rules in place for our own AI to make sure that we're not using that content to train our AI. But there's nothing to stop a publisher from creating their own LLM using their own content. If they own the rights for it, then that will happen.
Yeah, I think the example taken was Elsevier, which probably has the biggest portfolio and in terms of research papers published. So it can probably feed all of its content to an LLM, and so it will have a good results. So the other interesting thought, which I did not think of until then, is that if suppose researchers and let's say peer reviewers are starting to, let's say, use their own preferred large language model for even extracting information, because of paywalls and licensing, and many of the open models cannot access legally, at least. So until we have a system where all the research can be fed in, or rather when everything becomes sort of open access, at least for the large language models, you would not have the desired result. So, which was an interesting thought, I thought. And so, your thoughts?
I don't really have a particular opinion on this, apart from if these large language models are going to focus on open access content, for example, there are still rights and permissions that have to be obtained. You know, not everything is released with a completely open license. So yes, they're as good as the content that trains them.
Yeah, I guess I should be clearer. In the sense, open access is meant for human beings to read and repurpose the research material, right? So I think this.
Yeah, you're right. In a very simple, sort of simplistic level, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
In that the content is available for the researchers to read. However, there are a whole suite of right issues behind it.
Right. I'm just trying to simplify. So what I think the thought was for this idea that I proposed is that if a large language model cannot access, let's say, paywall research, etc., and it is not able to access that information, then its responses is going to be limited. And maybe regardless of the, let's say, end user license, which is what open access and, let's say, conventional traditional models, if the large language models are given access to that to train themselves, then maybe reviewers and researchers can use better.
So and I think, you know, the fact that publishers are already licensing the use of this content to train AIs is an indication of what's to come.
Right. All right. So we are almost at the end of the episode. I know that you're in a tear, but I want to go back to my screen share, and I'm going to talk to you about a quick hit article. So Tony, I know that you have a background in physics. Is that right?
No, I have. Well, let's be clear. I used to work for the Institute of Physics, lovely, wonderful organization. I worked there for a number of years. I am not a physicist.
Right.
I've been responsible for licensing content I don't understand.
Okay, so this was an interesting article. I just want to summarize it. So basically, physicists have observed quantum entangled quarks for the first time, which is incredible in my opinion. And this is purely, I mean, this is all I want to talk about, but I want to segue into quantum entanglement is a big thing in popular, let's say popular media right now, and a couple of big TV shows. I don't know if you've watched them. Three Body and Dark Matter are based on.
Problem.
Yeah, Three Body Problem is a book, and I think it's called Three Body, if I'm not mistaken. The Chinese version is called Three Body. I'm not sure about the Netflix English version. And I personally have watched the Netflix version. I haven't finished the Chinese version, and I think the Chinese version is much better with subtitles and everything. So have you watched these shows, Tony?
I haven't, I'm afraid. No, the closest I get to watching anything about science is probably The Big Bang Theory.
Well, yeah, I think you brought it up last episode as well.
I did.
You mentioned that you're a science fiction fan, and I strongly recommend. Barack Obama recommended Three Body Problem as one of the best books that he has read, and I've already read the entire trilogy twice, and I cannot, I heavily recommend that book. It is one of the best. That book, The Three Body Problem, is one of the best books that I've read. But I cannot believe when I'm saying this, that the second book is better than the first by a mile, and the third book is better than the first and the second by a mile. So please, a strong recommendation. So Dark Matter, it is more accessible. It is more popular science fiction, I think. Have you read it? The Blake Crouch?
No, I haven't. But I'm going to go and order both of these books as soon as we finish this call.
Yes, and I think you can the Dark Matter version is more accessible. I think in it's on Apple TV. I think you can try it out. That's one of the recommendations that I have. So anyway, I'm hoping that you will order these, and maybe we'll have a conversation much later down in the future about this.
Check in with me beforehand.
I will. So that brings us to the end of the episode. So Tony, if they want to find more about PubShorts or Enago Trinka, where can they find?
Okay, well, they just need to visit either KK or me on LinkedIn. We're both on LinkedIn. Or you can write to me at tony@enago.com. And we look forward to your suggestions and recommendations for topics for future discussion. And thank you for those people who've already sent their ideas in.
Yes. And you can also find us on social media, Trinka and Enago. Just search for, and PubShorts is already available on LinkedIn and YouTube, and soon to be available on all major podcasting platforms.
Yeah.
And you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm active on Twitter, X, whenever I feel like being active on it. So that brings us to the end of the episode. Any parting thoughts, Tony? You're going on a drive, I hear. Another
yes,
drive?
I'm going to see my brother for the first time in like 4 years, so I'm looking forward to meeting him.
Excellent. So maybe we can talk a little bit about experiences, conversations, etc. the next time.
Maybe.
And so until the next time, this is Dr. KK signing off on behalf of Tony as well as the entire team who supports supports us in creating such content. So until the next time, bye, Tony. See you.
See you.
Bye-bye.